Assalamualaikum. Most divorced Muslim men do not need more motivation. They need restraint. Because what destroys a man after divorce is usually not the divorce itself. It is what he does next when he gets triggered. Before we go deeper, download the Muslim Man Rebuild Playbook. It's a 30-minute comeback protocol in the description. It is for Muslim men who feel mentally scattered, spiritually distant, physically off track, and emotionally unstable during divorce transition. It helps you stop the spiral, reset your body, regain focus, and reconnect with Allah before you make another weak decision. Let me be direct. A lot of men think they lose control because they don't know better. That's not true. Most of the time, they are aware. They just don't stop. You read a comment, someone questions you, someone disrespects you, someone throws an accusation with no full context. And suddenly, your body reacts before your rational brain does. You feel it, that shock, that tightness in the chest, that again feeling, almost like a PTSD response. And in that moment, you have two choices. But most men don't see it as a choice. They think it's automatic. So what do? They replay it, they question it, they try to understand it, they go deeper into it. They scroll more, they consume more, they feed it. And just like that, they spiral. I've been there. You are progressing slowly, but because of one comment, one message, one accusation, you start doubting everything. You forget your progress, you forget your direction, you start reacting to noise. That's the mistake, because now your life is no longer being led by discipline. It's being led by triggers. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't spiral because the situation is powerful. You spiral because your restraint is weak in that moment. That's it. And the weakness doesn't just show up in thinking. It shows up in behavior. You raise your voice, your facial expression changes, you try to force your point. You try to regain control externally because internally you have already lost it. Or you escape. Late night gym, not for discipline, but to suppress emotion. Scrolling things you shouldn't be looking at. Consuming just to numb the state. And the worst part, you are aware. You even tell yourself, here we go again. And you still choose it. That's the real problem, not lack of knowledge. It's lack of command. Because after divorce, a man becomes very sensitive to triggers. Opinion affects him more. Accusations hit harder. Respect feels fragile. Progress feels slow. Identity feels unstable. So the nafs becomes louder. And if you don't control it early, it starts controlling your rebuild. Now, everything becomes reaction-based. You work, but from pressure. You speak, but from ego. You respond, but from emotion. You consume, but from emptiness. And you call that rebuilding? No, that's just a more productive version of spiraling, and many men stay in that state for years, including me, because they think I'm working, I'm trying, I'm moving, but internally they are still being led by what triggers them. That is not strength. Strength is not how hard you go. Strength is how well you hold yourself when something hits you. That's the test. And Islam is very clear on this. You are not here to be free with your emotions. You are here to be responsible with them. Because if you let every trigger move you, you will never have stability. Not in your work, not in your parenting, not in your future marriage, not in your deen. That's why restraint matters more than motivation. Yes, motivation makes you start. Restraint keeps you clean. And most men ignore that. They think, I just need to push harder. But pushing harder without restraint just makes the spiral faster. So what's the shift? You start seeing the moment differently. When you get triggered, you don't follow it. You don't analyze it immediately. You don't respond immediately. You don't act immediately. You pause. You let the emotion pass through your body without giving it your mouth, your actions, or your attention. That's discipline. And from my experience, it is not easy. Because your nerves will tell you, respond now, fix it now, say something, defend yourself, don't let this slide. But not every moment needs your reaction. Some moments are just tests of your restraint. And if you pass those moments, something changes. You become slightly more confident, more content, more stable. You start telling yourself, I can handle this, one step at a time. That's real progress, not loud, but solid. And here's something deeper most men don't realize. If you don't control your triggers, you will start building your life around avoiding them. You will work more just to feel safe. You will distract yourself more just to stay numb. You will consume more just to feel okay. And then one day, you will realize you didn't rebuild your life. You just built a system to manage your instability. That is dangerous because that kind of life looks stable from the outside, but inside it is fragile. And it is where remembering death matters because a lot of men are acting like they have unlimited time to fix themselves later. For example, I will focus on being later, or I will slow down later. And my favorite, I will clean myself later. No, death doesn't wait for your timing. It comes without permission. So the man who delays discipline is gambling with something he doesn't control. That's why the rebuild has to be clean. Less indulgence, less reaction, less emotional leakage, less distraction. Instead, have more restraint, have more awareness, more grounding, and more return to Allah. Because the goal is not just to rebuild your life. The goal is to become a man who cannot be easily shaken, anti-fragile. A man who gets triggered but doesn't move blindly. Be a man who feels but still chooses correctly. Be a man who is aware and actually stops. That's the difference. So you have two paths. One man keeps reacting, meaning he gets triggered, he follows it. If he feels something, he obeys it. He knows it's wrong, yet he still does it. He spirals, recovers, spirals, recovers, and that cycle continues. The other man slows down, he feels the same triggers, but he starts catching himself earlier. He doesn't give every emotion authority. He builds restraint, and slowly he becomes harder to shake. That's the man you want to become. Not perfect, but governed. Download the Muslim Man Rebuild Playbook in the description, and if this hits something real in you, subscribe because this is for Muslim men who are done with spiraling and ready to take control of themselves.